Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into the Football Friday episode this week, and this is not going to be a traditional pod. No goofy faces, no obnoxiousness. It's time for a serious talk. I need to analyze whatever you want to call that press conference from Nick Sirianni, because it was arguably his worst press conference ever, and that's saying a lot because I'll never forget the first time he ever looked at this fan base with his two eyes and had to answer questions. It was bad, and somehow we are now sitting in a worse position. He's lost it. This team is absolutely collapsing very rapidly, and he's having a difficult time trying to stop the bleeding, and I don't know if he's capable of stopping the bleeding. Some of his answers were so horrendous, I think we're trying to justify it by saying, well, he doesn't want to throw Brian Johnson under the bus. He doesn't want to throw Jalen Hurts under the bus, and he's taken one on the chin for his team and for his coaching staff. While I know you could spin it that way, and I'm sure you want to be optimistic, hoping and praying that that's real, but if you want the real, listen up. He believes everything he's saying because Nick Sirianni is authentic as hell. He doesn't really have a filter, and he just goes and he talks. And I know he's been here for a few years now, so he's been coached up. And Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman has monitored him, and I'm sure that they dialed it back a tad. But when Nick Sirianni is talking, I don't think he has the willpower to hold it in as smooth as maybe he would like to. When discussing the final plays and the drive where they tossed it to A.J. Brown, hoping for a flag, and he actually admits that you're gotta have it drive, you're gotta have it to get Jake Elliott in field goal position to at least tie the game up and give you a fighter's chance. Your need to have it play is hoping and praying for a zebra to throw out the laundry. That is so disgusting, and that's true. That was their thought process, and you could tell that Sirianni was realizing that he was vomiting out the mouth on the fly, so I guess kudos to him, because then he actually filtered in after the flag talk. It was, oh yeah, and by the way, A.J. Brown is good at making contested catches. Oh, by the way, A.J. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the league. Well, why don't you start with that? The fact it didn't start with that, that's real. That is real. That is truly how he feels, that he was designing plays with the game on the line instead of actually looking at a formation and strategy and scheming something up nicely to get you in a position to kick a field goal. That's what they want to do. They are too obsessed with the explosive plays, and it has taken apart other elements of this offense. When you praise Quez Watkins' speed, and then you go look at his stats and see 7 receptions for 49 yards this year, what type of deep threat is that? Nobody respects Quez Watkins. His speed's not taking anything off the top. And guess what? You only care about explosive plays so much, you don't use anything underneath. You don't even use that part of the field. So you're telling me that your big, explosive, over-the-top guy has some sensational 7 for 49 statistic. Whoop-de-damn-do. What a crazy deep threat that is. And then, oh yeah, everything underneath is so available. You just want them to push it 50 yards downfield anyway. If you were designing plays and you were an offensive mind, and let's say you did want to focus on A.J. Brown as a very prominent part of this offense, because why wouldn't you? He's super good. He can win a lot of matchups. He's gross. Why isn't there more for him that's easy? You're asking him to do so much hard one-on-one matchups, so much hard stuff, other than a slant. And okay, they can execute a slant for 5 yards on second down to move the chains. And I don't devalue that play. Getting 5 yards on a slant, sign me up. But other than that, what is there for your best wide receiver other than blind optimism and chucking it? Part of this is on Jalen Hurts. Leaving the pocket early, not reading the field well. But what I can't do is let Nick Sirianni off the hook because Christian McCaffrey from his couch can see some of the plays that are about to happen. It's very predictable. And he's smiling from ear to ear, laying out how this is the same offense. And we've had success utilizing this offense in the past. Yo, Nick, if you're not adapting and developing your offense every single damn week, people catch on super quickly. And the example of Chip Kelly has been utilized a lot over the last week. And I didn't see the correlation because at least when Chip Kelly came in, there was something sexy about it. It was appealing. There's been success under Nick Sirianni, and the first season it ended up in an ass whooping by Tampa Bay on the road. But yes, knowing that that was the first time on the sidelines in the playoffs and the first time on the sidelines with the headset on as a head coach's first season, there's tremendous value in learning what that's like and learning what you need to go into the offseason getting better at and trusting the growth of the quarterback and seeing what Todd Bowles did to you going back to the drawing board. But Chip Kelly's offense was so flashy and so exciting. There was an element of wow. There was never really an element of wow from Sirianni. I guess it doesn't really matter, though, as long as you win. Doug Peterson's offense wasn't anything wow. They had wide open plays, and they made simple wide open plays. And there were other key components, though. It wasn't just that, but that was a part of it. They're so obsessed with this staple. We have staple plays. He doesn't even realize how Christian McCaffrey can see what play is coming next. And that's troublesome. That perked my ears up. Well, we never ran it out of that formation before. So, kudos to him. He's a very high IQ football player. But hold on a second. You don't realize that a very high IQ football player is what makes up majority of this league, a lot of this league, especially a lot of the great teams that you are going to compete against in the playoffs, trying to win a Super Bowl, going for the Lombardi trophy. That's what you have to get through. So if others are recognizing it and you're downplaying it, thinking that, it's just one guy or it's just a small percentage. This is a staple. We believe in this staple. We never ran it out of this formation before. We're fine. No, you're not fine. You're not fine. You're not even aware that the rest of the league has caught up, and it is glaringly obvious that they know what's coming next. They know your plays. They know your scheme. You're not adapting. It's the same offense. You can't brag about it being the same offense. That's not a good thing. It may have worked in the past, but if you're not constantly adding wrinkles and adding a different element and embracing something new, it'll catch up to you fast because it's a copycat league. They are studying the great teams. They are studying the best teams. And they caught up to you. They did. Poor Dave Zangaro, though. Dave Zangaro got Nick Sirianni a little feisty for just laying out a question and prefacing a part of an earlier answer by Nick. And he's like, well, Nick, because essentially the question was about you made change defensively, but your offense isn't doing well either. So how come there hasn't been any change on that side of the ball? And Nick Sirianni put up a defensive wall and snapped back at Dave. Poor Dave. Dave's a good dude. There's plenty of guys on the beat, I'm sure, that pushes you and gives you a little bit of some adversity here and there in regards to a media relationship. We all know know the names. We know the guys that have been covering the team and more willing to write pieces that are controversial. And Jeff McClain, who I think does an amazing job, sometimes has some pieces that I'm sure doesn't make Howie Roseman and Lori happy. That's all part of it. Poor Dave. But that was a fantastic question, which then raises another question as Nick Sirianni put all the blame on him because this is his offense. Is Jalen okay with Brian Johnson not being in that role? Does he have a lot of power since he was paid the big money and he's the face of the franchise? I want Brian Johnson here. We know they're close. We know about their history. He was the quarterback's coach. I don't know. This opens up another door because Brian Johnson was able to, in the years, put the full focus on Jalen. As we discussed with Carson Wentz and DeFilippo in years past, and the pairing, it clicked with those. Well, because Brian Johnson might be I don't want to say distracted, because his job with the promotion is to do a lot more than what a quarterback's coach is, but was that relationship so pure in that role? And now that Brian Johnson is doing more, it's taken a step back on just the coaching angle of Jalen, and now we're in this predicament. Now, if your quarterback's great, your quarterback's great. If the difference in your quarterback is Brian Johnson, then I think your quarterback isn't as good as you anticipated. But I don't see the comparisons between Wentz and Hurts. I know that was something else that's been discussed. The difference is Doug Peterson and everybody in the Eagles organization at the time of Wentz was trying to ask him to do other things, and he wasn't being coached. He wasn't willing to take the coaching. That's what I need to say. He wasn't willing to take the coaching. They were trying to coach and asking him not to play hero ball. This circumstance with Jalen, I believe that they're trying to stress playing hero ball. They don't look at it as hero ball. They just look at it as explosive plays. But he's doing what the offense is designed, I guess, to do. That's not a Jalen Hurts problem. That's a Sirianni problem. The others was a Wentz problem. And that's why I'm having a difficult time really trying to figure out who Jalen Hurts is this year and why is the downfall happening, because I believe he's too good of a quarterback to look this confused. And if other teams are catching up to Nick Sirianni's scheme and they know what play is coming and it's so blah and the play calling's bad, the design's bad, your defense is getting shredded, you're going 3 and out, your defense is getting shredded, you're going 3 and out, your defense is getting shredded. It's a very hard thing to sustain just good quality football that way. If Jalen has to escape a pocket because he doesn't believe in what's happening and what can work. Imagine taking snaps from the center and heading into the play. You go, there's no way in hell this is going to work. Jesus, we're running this. Jesus, we're running a screen pass where your best blocker, who's not on the offensive line, I'm saying like a tight end in Dallas Goedert, is getting a screen pass, and of course it gets blown up because the blockers in front isn't working. How are we not effective on these screens? It cannot be this difficult. I'm sorry, it can't be. I have to imagine it's more design than it is quarterback now. It doesn't mean down the road I'd be willing to change my opinion with more information. But as we sit here today, that's where I am. There is one thing, though, with Jalen Hurts that might be playing a role in the tense locker room. Is he too serious? Is it all business? And he get paid a lot of money to win football games. So there's no problem with that mentality and that approach. It's better than a lot. But you do have to enjoy what you're doing. I know it's a business trip to get back to the Super Bowl after losing with the double-digit lead. At some point, though, when you're winning 10 of 11 games, while it's not pretty, are you too serious about it? I don't think that that's unfair. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And if you're too intense and you're too crazy and you're too obsessed and it's always on your mind, it can get unhealthy. And I don't know if it's so unhealthy that they're not able to take deep breaths and let some air out. And that's not on Sirianni. That's just on Jalen. Now, that's his personality, though. And if everybody can sniff through bullshit, then he needs to be 100 authentic, and he will be. Trust me, I don't think by any means Jalen Hurts will ever show a side of fakeness. He's always cool, calm, collected. But on the sidelines, after something goes wrong, I never see the clapping, someone going up to Jalen. A.J. Brown, there's a 3 and out. Does A.J. Brown go up to Jalen like, yo, dude, let's go, baby. Let's go. Smack him on the edge. Yo, we got this. Stap him up. Or, yo, it was wide open. I'm sure of it that Jalen is not thrilled with how his boy, his best friend, A.J. Brown, has treated him publicly. He's taking shots at his QB all day long. You would think if they're that close that you know that's coming and you shake it off because that's part of A.J. Brown's personality, or you're experiencing this for the first time and now there's starting to be a fracture in the friendship. I can't deal with this. Come on, man. I would never do that to you. I got you. You're my first read and I missed you. You don't need to be taking it to Tommy123 on Twitter with an anime picture as his profile pic. We can have these talks in-house. Jordan Mailata says as soon as they get on the plane, they're going right to the iPad. The wide receivers are sitting to the left side of the plane, and AJ and Jalen, they're going through it, looking at what went wrong. I got no problem with wanting to be in the film nonstop, your nose right in the actual thick of it, always diving deep into the plays. That's great. It's good leadership. It is. But take a step back and be a person with emotions and enjoy it. Or just throw your AirPods in and take 45 minutes after the game when you're flying home to just relax before jumping right into the second quarter drive that bothered you. Is that crazy of me to say? Because we always want our guys so obsessed with getting better and so dialed in that we normally call for it the other way. Get in the playbook. Study, study, study. Practice, practice, practice. I don't have to question that side of it with Jalen, though. He'll put that time in. It's the Maxey theory. Maxey's in the gym too much. They're asking him to take a step back. I think the same could be said for Jalen Hurts. All right, before we continue and get to calls, let me tell you about TickPick, because right now the Sixers are playing great ball, the Flyers are playing great hockey, and there's nothing better than going down to the link. So what if I told you TickPick is giving you free money to get yourself to a game? That's right, and it's the holiday season. So call your family members, your cousins, your father, your mother, your sons, your daughters, and get yourself to a game today. It's a fun night out in South Philly, and TickPick's ticket prices will beat any of the major competing marketplaces. They are so confident about it, they guarantee it. If you find the same seats elsewhere at a better price than TickPick, you get 110% of the price difference in form of TickPick credit. And there's upfront pricing, so no more doing the math in your head to prepare for how much extra you plan on spending on top of the listed price than on other sites. Because the price you see on TickPick is the price you'll pay at checkout, period, end of story. So don't worry about no added service fees, hidden fees, or otherwise. Is it crazy to be this down with this record? I had a Giants fan call into our show on WIP Wednesday night, and he said, you don't know how good you have it. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do not take it for granted. It doesn't make the moment now any easier, though. Do you think over the 20 years with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, if they failed, then all of a sudden it's like, well, we won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, so it doesn't matter that we lost in an AFC championship game, or it doesn't matter that we lost in another Super Bowl because we know we're great. No, it hurts in the moment. You bitch in the moment. You're angry. You dissect what happened. Why didn't we win? What could we have done? What are we missing? What do we need to change to make sure that we get over the hump the following season? Now is not the time to hear from a Giants fan that at least you're not in a position with Daniel Jones. I know we're way past that, and I get we're way better than majority of these teams. But if that's what I was to focus on, I'd be doing this core and this organization and this fan base a disservice. I know big picture, they're great, and I know that their ownership is fantastic compared to a lot of other teams. Okay, so now my bar and my expectations are different, and that's how I judge them. That's how I react. If they're going through a rebuild, your expectations are different, and then if you're supposed to be a 2-win team, but you end up being a 5 or 6-win team, and you jumped a year of a rebuild, well, then you're happy. But if you're a 6-win team this year as the Philadelphia Eagles following last year, you're not happy. Expectations after winning 10 of your first 11 games is go win a championship. You keep finding ways to win. Keep that up. Their defense, statistically speaking, for quite some time was actually good. Jalen Hurts was at the top of the MVP race to win the damn most valuable player. That was this season. It wasn't too long ago. So it's in there, and we need to figure out how to get it out of them. But maybe it's so broken. All right, so Matt Patricia is now your play caller. He got in front of the media the other day, and he sounded pretty good. He didn't give you a lot. I just didn't really know much about Matt Patricia's personality. And you think of the Bill Belichick tree, and you think of some guys like Joe Judge, for example, hard ass, and you heard about stories with him in Detroit. He seemed very not humble, but just good guy energy, and I didn't know if I really expected that out of Patricia. But it doesn't mean I love the way they went about this, because Sean Desai was trotted out to the media last week because they didn't want a disadvantage competitively. Because if God forbid the Seattle Seahawks knew that Matt Patricia was going to call plays instead of Sean Desai, then they wouldn't win this game. How'd that go? I guess they didn't need to know anyway, huh? They just decided to toast James Bradberry. And can Matt Patricia bench James Bradberry and go with some different outside corners and live with Ringo? Does that really sit well with the room? And should it matter if it sits well in the room? Here's Matt Patricia, who's already had some button of the heads with Slay, although he made it very clear in his presser. I was just with Slay. Oh, yeah, we just hugged before I came in here. Oh, how convenient is that you guys compressed, you guys exchanged body heat with the hug 5 seconds before you got in front of the podium. I'm sure you did, Matt Patricia. But how well does that go with the room if someone like Bradberry, who, say what you will about his awful play right now, he is a veteran that's been here for a couple of years now, and they've won a lot of games with him in that position, albeit not playing well now. What does that do to a room that's very fragile at the moment that a new guy, I don't care, you're not playing, and I'm going with the Ringo over a guy who got a big contract and a lot of miles lined in this league. I'm not telling you I would care if they bench him, because quite frankly, it's not good enough. I'm just studying the actual inside right now and the walls that are crumbling down. Every little decision can make that crack even bigger and that crack even more intense until the wall falls and you are legitimately screwed, okay? Now, Jack Fritz is saying that he believes Nick Sirianni should be coaching for his job. And while I don't feel that strongly about it, if they crumble down the stretch, which I do expect them to go 2-1, all right, I can't see 3-0. You're nuts if you're writing them into a whole entire 3-run stretch here, even against a team that they're double-digit favorites against. They're bad. I mean, the New York Giants are bad. You should be able to use your pass rush to get to DeVito. They're not very good at all. They're terrible. You should not lose, but I can't rule a loss out of this. And 2-1, I mean, I'd be grateful for 2-1 after what they've given us. Grateful for it. But with Nick Sirianni, if this thing does go south, if they lose their first game in the playoffs, next year it is real. This is the same organization that fired Doug Peterson not too shortly after he won a championship. The only difference is he was given a chance I do believe he was given a chance to stay if he was willing to accept what Howie and Laurie wanted to surround him with the personnel on the coaching staff. And Doug big balled them, said, no, thank you, walked out that house in Florida. And I remember seeing his faces. He was beat down. You know when a coach has had enough. I saw it with Brett Brown. It was time. I saw it with Doug Peterson. It was time. And if this thing goes south and next year it's something similar, I wouldn't be surprised if it's time to he's not creative. He's just not a creative football mind, and there's not a lot of adjustments. What he's good at is relationships, and this team has a relationship problem. So tell me what you do well. And if you need an offensive coordinator to make him better, the problem is when you're great, your offensive coordinators are constantly changing because especially in this league, people want the offensive side of the ball hired as their next head coach, and they go to the best teams. So they won't be here very long. You'd be lucky to get a second year out of a guy. Well, it's too hard to find the best of the best of the best to filter in an OC every single season. That's a hard way to build. It's a hard way to do it. So, yeah, why don't we take some calls here? But that's sort of where I am heading into this Monday game on Christmas. I'm down bad. And I'm asking some serious questions about Nick Sirianni. And I think they're deserved. I do.
God, I've learned that the one thing I should never have when I should just accept the Eagles are bad is hope. I should never have hope for this team. I should have known. I should have listened. I didn't want to, though. I feel so – I'm not even mad. I'm just sad now, dude. This is just so sad. Drew Lock, bro. Why?
I get it, dude. I do. That's why we're having this serious talk today. I almost did it again. Drew Lock is so bad that for a majority of the show that we recorded a couple of days ago, I called him Brock Purdy. I didn't even know his name. I was so disrespectful, I didn't even remember his name. I'm calling him Brock Purdy. And yeah, maybe the 49ers are constantly on my mind because they are the ones to do this to me. They are the ones to do this to us. And you have to give them credit because guess what? If it was us who did it to them, I'd be nonstop, so damn aggressive, and I'd be so obnoxious. And I wish I was. Nothing is more fun for me than to just let out all of my emotions, especially when they're super fun and it's super energetic and it's about a great football team. That's when I'm my happiest. And this is when I'm down my worst. Is when I just have to sit here and talk and actually really look deep into the blood and the flesh of who this Eagles team is. Questioning everything and how quickly it's fallen. And do we have the right to do it like this? Yes. Yes, we do. The 10-3 record. They're still 10-3. Or are they? I'm sorry. Are they 10-4 now? Oh God, got to keep adding. No, yeah. They're 10-4. Sorry, 10-4. They're 10-4 now. They are the most disliked 10-4 team of all time. Is the fan base too aggressive, and are they too angry without looking at the full body of work? And the answer is no. No, we're not too angry. No, we're not knee-jerk reaction and calling them out just because we're living in the moment and we're allowing our emotions to get too high. That's not the case. There's real problems here, and I just laid them out over the last 25 minutes. Nick Sirianni on a schematic level is having a difficult time. Nick Sirianni on a connection level is having a difficult time. And then that is factoring into the quarterback having a difficult time on the field, the offense having a difficult time generating success. So what am I supposed to do with that information? Pretend that it's not real just because they're 10-4? And it's a lot different than when they started out 10-1 and they were winning even though it wasn't pretty. because in no way, shape, or form did they show signs of what happened against the 49ers. Did they show signs of what happened against the Dallas Cowboys? That's the difference. That was the break. That was the shift. Because they showed a side of them that I never knew was in there. They never showed that during the winning ugly. There were different topics, maybe. There were different ways to talk about what was going on. But once San Fran and Dallas happened, opened up a whole different can of worms. It sucks.
What a loss, man. This one hurts worse than San Fran and the Cowboys because this was a confidence win. This was supposed to right the ship. We moved the side up to the booth. We got Matt Patricia downstairs. This was the game that, hey, going forward, we got it, guys. We're going for the Super Bowl run. This is it. And they just stunk the joint up. It's just ridiculous to be winning that entire game and let Drew fucking Lock march down the fucking field is ridiculous. I don't know what to say. I'm really disappointed in this team, and I'm ready to pack it up.
Wow, ready to pack it up. I get that, though. I do, and you are right to feel that way. Unfortunately, I can't believe it, but you are correct to have that type of feeling deep down inside of you. Sometimes it doesn't pass the smell test. And we are definitely not passing the smell test at all. And even if they were to win that game, let's say they won that game by only scoring 17 points. Do we feel better? Do we? Do we actually feel better? Maybe about the defense. Hey, Matt Patricia found a way to keep DK Metcalf quiet, and he found a way to press Drew Lock more. I'm just saying, right? Like, let's say you started to get to Drew Lock late in the game instead of, I don't know, not getting to Drew Lock late in the game, and you keep your press coverage going, and you ask their wide receivers to beat you differently. Like, maybe there was something where you could pull some positives out of their only scoring 17. But quite frankly, if your offense doesn't wake up, you're not winning anything at all. So even if somehow by the skin of their teeth they were able to do it and it was supposed to be a, quote, confidence builder, the only way it would be a confidence builder is a 30-plus spot. And even then, let's be honest, what would the reaction be? Well, I can't get the last 3 games out of my mind anyway. So good, they needed it. It was something that they desperately had to have just to feel better and have some level of confidence. But it won't change the narrative completely. It was needed, and it was great, but there's still a lot to be desired with this crew. That's what we probably would have talked about. Oh, man. All right, one more, and then we'll kind of close it out.
What's up, bros? Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
Yeah, not much to say. I'm sure the hotline's blowing up right now. This team is literally the Minnesota Vikings of last year and the Pittsburgh Steelers of the 2020 season.
Ew.
Hot start, but barely beating teams, and now we're just blowing it throughout. I mean, I don't even know if I want to. Like, we made the playoffs, but I don't even know if I want to see them do anything in the playoffs. All right, let me know what you think.
Well, I do want to see them do something in the playoffs. Yeah, I do. That's where we differ. If they go win 3 games in the playoffs, guess what? I'm stoked. I don't have faith that they can, but if you're asking me, do I want them to? Of course. Yes, I want them to. I want Jalen Hurts to snap out of this. I want Sirianni to be good. If he's good, that's better for us long term. If he is more creative than we are giving him credit for, that means there's something that we can truly have for years and years and years if he can adapt and have something splashy with that side of the ball. If Matt Patricia is a good defensive coordinator, that's a very strong thing for this team. Like, I want that to happen. Will it happen? That's a totally different thought, and I don't really want to answer it because I think you know my answer. All right, everybody, that's my Football Friday pod. It had nothing to do with the game. We are now in a position where it doesn't even matter about the game, because if we wanted to go through whose quarterback's better, Eagles, whose receivers are better, Eagles, whose line is better, Eagles, everything Eagles. But what the hell does that matter? All right, I could have said that for a lot of these matchups. I could have said that with the matchup against Seattle. Easy. Signed, sealed, delivered. Guess what? Fat L. Big loss. Disgusting. So it doesn't matter. Obviously, the Eagles are better in every single category than against the New York Giants. My prediction, and I haven't done this all year, Giants win. Sorry. We'll see how it goes. Talk to you guys all on the next one.